This conference will now be recorded.
So far, we discussed about what is Docker file, how to create image, what are the best practices to be followed while creating image, what is multi-stage Docker file, and also I have given assignment to create customized Jenkins image using your own Docker file by following all the best practices. Whoever not yet done, try to finish that assignment as early as possible. So we'll continue. Jagan Mohan is asking, for the first time I created a Docker file, it is executed, I got the output. While trying to execute second time, unable to get the output. May I know the reason? What is the meaning of output? You are not able to create a container, or you are not able to create an image, or while creating an image, you are not able to see the output. What does it mean? For the first time I created a Docker file, it is executed. What is the meaning of executed? Docker file is executed. So what is executed? Jagan Mohan, your question should have some clarity. So you are giving something like this. So for the first time I created a Docker file, it is executed. What is executed? What you have done using the Docker file, what you have done? You created an image. While you created an image, out of that image, what you created? You created a container. Out of that image, you created a container, correct? Then what is the meaning of executed here? Is your container is in running state or stopped state? When you do like this, is it in running state or stopped state? What is, whether it is in running state or stopped state? When you do, when you created a container, is it in exited state or running state?
If you don't mind, can I speak for 2 minutes?
Yes.
Yeah, so the thing is, first time when he created the Docker file, it's got run and it's got executed, whereas he got output. And the second time also he's running the same Docker file, and
Are you going to run the Docker file? First, to understand the terminology. Are you going to run the Docker file? Or are you going to build the image?
We are build the Docker image, sir.
Okay.
So after building the image, what's happening is it's directly going to exited mode, and it's not coming. The container is not running, sir.
I already explained how to troubleshoot also. Did you guys troubleshoot it?
Yes, sir. But yes, sir. Come on, Jagan, you can speak.
Maybe what prepare one document, a kind of a Word document, what you have done step by step, and what analysis you have done. What analysis you have done, what troubleshooting you have done, why it has went down, and what is the commands which used and how you troubleshooted.
So myself, what I have done is I have just deleted the server itself and created the new server. And again, while doing Docker file and while building the image, I got the output, sir.
So that's what, do it one more time and share the what analysis you have done.
But what I'm saying is, in the same where I run the container and all, again doing again while building the image, There I'm not getting the output exactly in the same server, sir.
That's what. Are you understanding what output you are expecting and what is not coming? Prepare one document.
Yes, so
And
the
otherwise
Jenkins,
share the
the
otherwise share the screenshot. Share the screenshot in Skype group. What you are doing, what error you are getting. Skype group. If you
well,
don't have
sir.
a time to prepare the document, just what command you executed, what is the output, what you are expecting, what you are getting.
They forgot to push the image to the Docker hub, sir. That's the reason it's in the previous version only. That might be the reason.
So that's what error you are getting. If you show, then we can understand, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, true.
Whenever you create a image or changes to the Docker file, you have to push it to the Docker hub right first. Without doing that one, how can you pick it for the container?
No, we have done all that. We have, yeah, I have pushed the image to the Docker hub. I mean, while deploying also, the thing is the container is not run. It's not
One thing,
running actually.
don't waste everyone's time. Whatever you have done, put in one document or keep it in the Skype group. Okay.
Well, sir,
So
well, sir, thank you.
anytime you can post questions in the Skype group, not
Yes,
individually. Post what you command you have done, what is the output you are expecting, what you are actually getting. So prepare one document, attach the document in Skype group, or just a screenshot, whatever you are doing.
well, sir, thank you.
Don't waste everyone's time here because we already discussed in detail. If you are still not able to do something is not correct, you are not doing correctly. Some are the other commands or some are the other approach you have might have missed that we will address post in the Skype group. Okay, let's continue. Now, yesterday we were discussing about what is image, how to create image and all those things. Today we'll try to understand about Docker networks. But before I go for a Docker networks, it is nothing to do with the Docker or any other thing. First, let's understand what is monolithic architecture and microservice architecture. What is monolithic and what is microservice architecture? It's nothing to do with the Docker or Docker networks or Kubernetes or any other thing. This is altogether a different concept. Monolithic architecture and microservices architecture. So what is this monolithic and what is this microservice? It is nothing to do with the Docker or DevOps also. It's a developmental approach. It's a developmental approach or development methodologies. Applications, the developers, the applications can be either deployed either developed in monolithic architecture or microservice architecture. One minute, let me open the document first before we proceed further. So let's take any application first. Any application that can be this application or that can be any application like Flipkart, Ola, Uber, Amazon, like any application you take, Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, whatever, any application you take, does each application will have its own set of requirements? It will have its own set of requirements, and does each application will have its own features? Features we call it as a modules. If you take just as an example, this application, Does this application will have its own set of features? Customers, end users, or customers can register their applications. I mean to say customer can register into Flipkart registration module or feature. Do I have a feature called login? The users of Flipkart can log into the Flipkart application, and also checkout. Checkout in the sense browse products, like products, payments, orders, profile. Like, does this application we have its own set of features like add to cart, payments, orders, profile. So it will have its own set of features. If you take any other application also, Ola, Uber, here also we have a registration, which means people can register to Ola, log in, then book a cab, right? Track the ride, payments, profile. Like this, they will have its own set of features, right? So each application will have its own set of requirements, each set of features. Does this application, any application you take, if you take SBI, again in SBI also payment, I mean to say transfer, right? Request for ATM, right? Create, add or delete beneficiary, like this. Each application will have its own set of requirements and features. So these applications can be developed using any programmatic language, like a typical three-tier architecture. So the presentation layer, like if I take this one, this is presentation layer. What I can see here, this is presentation layer of that application. Does this presentation layer will communicate with some application layer? If I want to log in, it will make some calls to the login. That APIs will check the database whether this customer is part of the SB or not. Like, it is going to contact APIs and it is going to communicate with the database, all those things. But at the overall, does that application will have a lot of features like this based on the application, like login, registration, checkout, products, payment, orders, like this? Yes. Now, these applications either can be developed in monolithic architecture or in a microservice architecture. What is the meaning of monolithic? In monolithic architecture, if this application is developed using monolithic architecture, it's a developmental approach. It's a developmental approach or architecture. If application is nothing but a project, right? If application is developed in monolithic architecture, all the features or modules, or can I call this as a feature or module also? Registration, one feature or one module or feature, both are almost same. All the features or modules are built, I mean to say are developed and built and deployed as a single entity, single package, which means if this application is developed in a monolithic architecture, is all the modules or all the features is developed, built and deployed as a single entity, single package? Yes. All these features will be developed, deployed and maintained as a single entity, single package. So if it is a monolithic architecture, all the features, all the modules are being developed as a single entity or single package, which means will I have a single code base? In only one code base, will I have all these features, all these modules code, that is APIs? So all these code base, all the APIs of all these features or modules, will it be part of same code base, which means same single code base, single GitHub? Yes. So if it is a monolithic architecture, the entire application, all the features of that application will be built and deployed as a single entity, which means something like this. Monolithic application will have a single code base with multiple modules or features. That modules are divided as a features, business requirements, business features or technical features. Modules are nothing but that modules are divided based on the business features, the requirements or technical features. So it will have a single code base. It has a single build system, which will build the entire application. And also it will have a single executable package. It will have a single package to deploy. So in monolithic architecture, everything is part of your same code base, which means your UI. This UI is nothing but what? This UI is nothing but your presentation layer and your business layer, your application layer, that APIs. This data layer is nothing but it will interact with the database. This is also code. This is also, these two also called as application layers only. So everything is part of same code base. Entire application layer, presentation layer, which means does that package will have all the modules, which means registration, login, payments, orders, checkout, is everything part of the same code base, same package? Yes. It is developed as a single entity, single package. Now, let's understand the advantages and disadvantages of monolithic first. Let's understand the advantages and disadvantages of monolithic first. Then we will understand what is microservices. Now, if it is a monolithic architecture, this is my SCM code base. Let's say this is my GitHub. Now, all these modules, all these features, will it be part of same code base? Does this GitHub will have all the features, all the modules code? Something like this. So everything is part of this one. So does the developer will write the code and commit the code to GitHub? Some developers might be working on login related requirements. Some developer might be working on registration related requirements. Some developers might be working on payments related requirements. Does these developers will clone this SCM and commit that code to GitHub like this? It has a single code base. So everything is part of same code base. Now from this code base, if I create a package, does that package will have all the features, all the modules part of that package? Let's consider you are developing using Java. Let's consider this application you are developing using Java. So Let's consider this is your var file or AR file. Does this package will have all the presentation layer code, UI code like HTML, JSS, JavaScript, and also application layer, your APIs of registration, login, checkout, everything, part of a same code base. Now this is your code base and this is your package. From that code base, you are creating a package like this if it is a Java based application. Now advantages with monolithic: simple to develop since it's a same code base, simple to deploy. It is very simple to deploy because it has only one package. Deploying that package will be simple because I need to deploy only one that package. And it is easy to debug and trace the errors also. It is easy to debug and trace the errors because all the features are part of same code base. It's kind of a local calls. It's kind of a methods. Once you've done the login is communicating with some other method, other class, which is part of same code base. So simple to deploy, easy to debug and error trace, and simple to test also. Because only one package you are deploying. If that package is running, which means is your entire application is running. If you deploy that package, which means is your entire application is running, because all the modules are part of same code base. These are the advantages. But when it comes to disadvantages, what is the drawbacks of monolithic architecture? Anyone can explain? If you are already from development background, anyone can explain what is the problems or drawbacks of monolithic? It is tightly coupled. First and foremost thing is it is tightly coupled. What is the meaning of tightly coupled? In monolithic architecture, your features are tightly coupled, your modules are tightly coupled, which means all the modules are in same code base. So let's consider, now I have a requirement, I want to update some registration requirements. I want to enhance registration requirement. Suppose as of now, we are supporting registration only using email. Let's say the client come and said, I want to enhance the registration requirement. I want to support the mobile number based registration also. You want to modify the code. So you can enhance your code, but without impacting other features, other modules. Will you able to only build and deploy and test only registration without impacting other features, other modules? No. Why? Why? Because is it sharing same code base? Is it common code base? So even though there are changes in this related requirements, do I need to again rebuild my entire application, redeploy my entire application, retest my entire application? Yes. So which means is the features are tightly coupled, which means without impacting one feature, will I able to modify other feature? No. Let's consider by mistake, you are only modifying registration, but will knowingly or unknowingly, will it impact other features also? Because you are sharing the same code base. You are sharing the same code base. Knowingly or unknowingly, you are modifying registration code. Will it impact other features code if the same code is reused in these features also, in these modules also? Yes. So they are tightly coupled and difficult to understand and modify. What is the meaning of difficult to understand and modify? Since it's very huge code base, will it be easy for us to understand? Any new developer joined, any new resource joined, will it be easy for the developer to understand that code and modify the code? Because it's very huge code base. All the modules are part of same code base. It is difficult to understand and modify. And also we need to redeploy entire application on each update, which means even though there is a small change in the registration or login, do I need to rebuild and redeploy the entire application because it's same code base, same package. So single bug can bring down the entire application, which means let's say there is a small bug in the login, there is a small bug in the registration, let's say there is a small bug in the registration. Will I able to bring down only registration? If it is a small bug in the registration, will I able to bring down only registration feature? No, right? Even though there is a issue in registration, I am fine, but other things should continue to work. But that is not possible because if I stop the server, if I stop that application, does other modules also will be stopped because it is sharing same code base, same package? Yes. So single bug in application can bring the entire application. Scaling the application is also difficult. Scaling the application is also difficult. What does it mean? Now let's take this application itself. Let's take this application itself. Flipkart, just to give an example. Let's say 1 lakh people are logging into the application. 1 lakh requests are coming to login, which means 1 lakh people are accessing Flipkart per hour. Does all the 1 lakh people will place the orders? Does all the 1 lakh people will place, do the payments? No. But a lot of people are accessing my application. So if I deploy my application as one replica, just one replica, will it able to support this much request, this much load? No. But can I deploy as a 3 replicas or 4 replicas based on the load? 5 replicas I can deploy. I can scale. But is it possible for me to scale only login related APIs? If I want to scale only login, will I end up scaling the entire application because it's a single package, same code, single package? So will I end up scaling the entire application even though I don't want to scale payments and orders related one? Will I end up scaling entire application because it's a single package? So will I able to scale application only few features, few modules if it is a monolithic architecture? No. So changes in one application, I mean to say changes in one feature, one module, changes in one section, which means changes in one module or feature can cause impact on the other feature because the code is same, single code base. Knowingly or unknowingly, it will impact other modules. So this was the traditional approach people used to follow. People used to follow this monolithic architecture from ages. From ages in the sense from the beginning of this software and IT infrastructure era, they was to follow this monolithic architecture when the people started developing the applications. But later, they have realized what are the challenges or drawbacks with monolithic architecture. Now the application started following which architecture to develop the applications? Microservices. Microservices. So all it started from 2013-14. This microservices era also started from early 2012-13. So people started developing the applications using microservice architecture. So everyone use Uber, everyone use Netflix. Do you know which architecture that Uber or Netflix is following, and that application is developed in which architecture? If you see, the Uber and the Netflix is following a microservices architecture, kind of a first generation applications who followed microservices. Netflix is kind of a first generation application which followed the microservices. Is MVC architecture same as monolithic? MVC is different. Model view controller. So that is also different. That is kind of a monolithic, but MVC can be microservice also, but that is completely different. That is development terminology. Now, what is microservice? What is the advantages of microservice? Let's first understand what is microservice. Now, instead of developing that entire application as a single application, can I break that application into multiple small applications, small services? Instead of developing that entire application as a single application, can I develop that applications as a loosely coupled multiple applications are called as a services? If required, can I break that presentation itself into a separate application, only UI code, complete presentation, only UI? Can I develop into a separate code base, complete presentation, whatever you see in the UI? Single page application is different, presentation is different. It no need to be a single page. Can I develop complete UI into a separate code base? Only UI. Can I take the UI code out of the APIs? Can I take the UI code out of the application layer and develop as a separate? Yes. So UI can be separate. And again, your application layers also, instead of developing all the APIs, all the applications in single code base, all the features in single code base, can I develop as a separate code base each feature or each module as a separate application, small applications? Yes. So microservices is a developmental architecture or a technique that arranges an application as a collection of loosely coupled services. Here, can I call application? Can I call this as a Flipkart, just one application or project? This application is nothing but your project. Can I call Flipkart as one application, Ola as one application, Uber as one application, or LIC India as one application, SBI India one application? Yes. So microservice is a developmental technique that arranges an application as a loosely coupled services or modules, loosely coupled modules. Instead of developing the application as a single package or single application, can I break that into multiple small services, future based services, or we call it as a microservices? So which can be developed, deployed, maintained independently from others, independently from other features, other services. Now instead of developing like this, now can I develop like this in monolithic architecture, same application? This is separate code base. 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 Instead of developing one very big application, can I break that application into a multiple small features and feature based applications like this? Guys, it is nothing to do with DevOps or Docker, but if you understand this microservice architecture, will you be able to support CI/CD operations for microservice architecture based applications very easily? Yes. Nowadays, you take any application, 90% of the applications are developed in which architecture from last approximately 5-6 years? Most of the applications are developed in the microservice architecture. In the interview also, they will ask, what is monolithic, what is microservice? So since I came from a development background also, I know how microservices will work from development perspective also. And I came from development background into operations. So I do development, I do operations, both. So it will be easy for me to relate also here. So that's why I thought of explaining here. So now this is separate code base. Can I have a code base like this? Login, GitHub, login repository, login related code. All the login related APIs. Can I code into this? Sorry, this is registration. All the registration related APIs. Can I write those APIs as part of this code base? Can I call that as one microservice? All the login related APIs. All the login related APIs. I can code into this one. All the products, browsing the products, searching the products, or check out the products. Can I add? Can I write all those APIs as part of this one? Checkout microservice, products. How many products are there? Inventory. Products are inventory. Inventory is nothing but stock. How many products are there? Each product. How many stock we have? Payment related. Payment gateways. Payment related APIs I can write here. Tracking the orders. Placing the orders and tracking the orders. I can write in this microservice. Profile. Your profile. Like this. Can I break that entire application into a small applications, loosely coupled applications? And can I break UI into a separate code base also? UI, only presentation. Whatever I see, that UI of login, payments, UI. UI is nothing but what we see in the browser. Can I call this as a presentation layer, what I see in the browser? UI of login, UI of registration, UI of all these things. Can I have only presentation code in a separate code base like this? Right, all the UI presentation layer into a separate code base. Separate code base. This is into separate code base. Now I can break this application like this. If it is a monolithic, if it is a microservice architecture, does each of these services, I can call it as a microservice or module, does each of these services responsible for discrete task, which means specific task? Each of these service is responsible for specific requirement, specific task. So just to give an example, suppose I have developed a microservice architecture for Flipkart. Does this registration microservice is responsible for only performing registration related activities? Is login microservice is responsible to support only login related activities, login related APIs? So I can develop an API, authentication API. So this API will get username and password from presentation, from UI. Suppose this is my presentation layer. I am clicking on login. So whatever username and password I am clicking here, the moment I click on submit, can I make a API call which is part of this login microservice, so that will receive the username and password? Then does this login API, does internally it will contact a data layer? The data layer is nothing but database. So does this code will check whether this username and password is part of that application database, whether this is a valid user into the Flipkart or not? So it will perform some discrete action. But in this login code base, will I write any APIs which is related to payments or inventory or profile related thing? No, just authentication. As part of registration, can I write APIs as a developer? Check if user exists. Kind of one API. And register. So let's say first user is trying to register. This guy doesn't have a account in Flipkart. He is trying to click on this one. He is providing some number. He is providing some number. Just to give an example, I am giving like this. Something like this. Now, first, if I click on continue, first, do I need to verify whether this user is already part of the system or not? So the moment I click on this continue, first, do I need to verify whether that user is already part of the system? Can I make some API call, which is part of registration, and it will talk to the DB? It will talk to the database. If the database already have that user, will I get a message saying that with this already user exists? If this user doesn't exist, then can I go to the next page and provide some additional details? Can I provide some additional details like other details? And can I capture all those details as part of register API? I will get the username, password, email ID. I will capture email ID of that user. I will get the phone number of that user. I will get the address of that user. Can I save all those details again from this API? Can I communicate with the database and insert the data into the database of that user so that he can continue to log in from next time? So this way, can I develop the features or services which will perform specific task, discrete task? Can I write these type of APIs in the respective microservices as a developer? As a developer, nothing to do with DevOps here. Now, once I log in, I log into this Flipkart. If required, can I search the products like checkout? Can I make some API calls? If you see in the background, you can understand we are using UI, but in the background is this presentation layer is making some network calls, API calls. If you see, so let me click on. Now let me clear this everything. Samsung mobiles. Now if you see in the background, let me enable this. Let me type again. If you see in the background, is it making some API calls like this? Fetch calls. I mean to say this is one API. Is it making some APIs in the background? Is it giving some response in the JSON format? Is it giving some response in the JSON format? Is that response is used in the browse in the presentation layer to display these product details, all those things? So this is kind of a APIs. So can I have all this checkout related in one API, like fetching the products, automatically suggest some products like this? Can I have all those APIs part of this checkout, products, payments? When you are doing the payments, you are giving your credit card, debit card, or UPI ID. So can I make some API calls to this payment microservice? That payment microservice will internally talk to the payment gateways, which is exposed by banks. Does each bank will have its own payment gateway? The banks also will expose some APIs. So this payment API request will go to bank gateways. Does that bank will verify whatever user details, whatever card details you have provided, whether that bank is whether he is part of that bank, whether he has a sufficient balance, all those things. This is third-party APIs. You are developing a payment microservice. Is that payment microservice will talk to third-party payment gateways exposed by each and every payment, I mean to say banks or credit card systems. So they will make a API calls and place the order. So similarly, can I have orders related, like a tracking my orders, track the orders? How many orders are there? I want to know all my orders. Can I develop microservices which is part of this one? Does all these APIs can be invoked from presentation layer? Can I all these APIs can be invoked from presentation layer? Does developer will write the code? Suppose I am clicking on this button. So what API has to be invoked? Does the presentation layer, the guy who is developing the UI, does he know which API to call? What is the input for that API? So he will make a API call to that respective microservice, that respective API. Yes. So now, if I develop the application in a microservice architecture like this, what is the advantage? What is the advantage? Is it easy to make changes? Is it easy to maintain this? Is it easy to scale? Is it easy to deploy applications without impacting other applications? I mean to say other microservices. Now, let's understand the advantages. Loosely coupled. What is the meaning of loosely coupled? Now, instead of developing entire thing in a single code base, you are developing in a separate code base. Now, can I modify if there are changes or enhancements only in registration? Can I modify these APIs? Suppose I want to support mobile number based registration. Can I write the APIs which can support mobile number based registration? Can I build and deploy only this microservice without building and redeploying other microservices, without impacting other microservices? Now, since it's a separate code base, will it impact other features, other modules, other APIs, whatever is part of other microservices? No. So they are loosely coupled. Easy to understand and modify. Is it easy to understand and modify the code? Because each feature is a separate code base. Do you have a thousands of files in each microservice? No. Only login related in that one. So is it easy to modify and code, update the code in microservice architecture? Each microservice will have its own set of APIs. Yes. And also better deployments, because can I deploy these microservices independently from others, which means there is a change in the registration. Do I need to rebuild and redeploy, retest other APIs if I'm not modifying anything there? No. So will it be easy to deploy better deployments as a separate services? Can I deploy these independently from others? Yes. And each service, can I scale this service independently, which means there is a lot of calls to the registration. There are a lot of calls to the login. Since it's a separate package, can I scale this registration package? Instead of 4 replicas, can I run it as a 10 replicas, this registration code? Can I deploy this login APIs instead of 4 replicas if required? Can I deploy as a 10 replicas, that login related code? So can I scale these services independently from others? Do I need to scale entire application if there is a lot of load? No. Based on the load on your feature, based on the load on your module, can I scale these features or modules independently? Yes. Now, each service can be scaled independently as it's a separate package. And also, does each service is nothing but microservice or module, does each module can be developed using any programmatic language, any new technology, as it's a separate code base? Now, can I develop this login registration microservices using Python if required? Can I develop this registration APIs using Python if required? Can I develop login APIs using Java if required? Can I develop this checkout related using Node.js if required? Can each microservice can be developed in its own programmatic language if required. But at the end of the day, does all these microservices should be up and running? Does each microservice should communicate with other microservices? At the end of the day, do I need to have all these microservices running somewhere in some server directly or as containers also if required? At the end of the day, do I need to have this registration APIs or login APIs, checkout APIs should be up and running directly in some virtual servers in a virtualized manner? Or can I run these microservices also as a containers if I have created a Docker image for these microservices? At the end of the day, do I need to have these all microservices deployed up and running to work your entire application? Does each microservice will communicate with other microservice? Because I deployed UI. Does UI will make a calls to the login? Does UI will make a calls to the registration? Maybe you are checking out the products, but internally this checkout is going to make calls to the products APIs, whether how many products are there, how many stock is there. You are doing checkout, but internally does this checkout will make API calls to the products to see how many products are there, what is the stock we have. At the end of the day, does each microservice will communicate with other microservice? Yes. How? When it comes to in monolithic, everything is a single code base. So do we have a network calls here? If it is a monolithic, all part of same code base, do we have any network calls, API calls or network calls? No. Is it kind of a local calls? Local calls, which means one class to another class, one method to another method. Kind of a local calls, function calls, kind of a methods we are calling, kind of a functions we are calling. But when it comes to microservice architecture, is this is running in a separate system? Can I run login in a separate system or registration in a separate system, checkout in a separate system, UI in a separate system? Can I deploy like this? Yes. But if it is a altogether different system, how these microservices will communicate with each other? Do we have a network calls? Network calls. Network calls, basically APIs, API calls, API calls. So there are REST APIs, synchronous calls, APIs, asynchronous calls. If you want to do something in the background, asynchronous calls, you will use this messaging queues concept, messaging queues concept. You have RabbitMQ for this. You have Kafka for this. So that APIs can be communicated synchronously or asynchronously. Asynchronous in the sense your end user will not wait for that response back. End user will not wait for the response back. He will just post the message. That message will be processed by the consumers. By consuming that message in the background, they will process that data, that request. That is asynchronous. Synchronous in the sense, suppose I am doing something here. Suppose I am doing something here. I am doing something here. The moment I click on submit, I have to get the response back. This is a synchronous call that can be done using APIs, REST APIs. If it is a asynchronous process, you are not waiting for that server to respond or application to respond. Can I post the message? Can I post the data to the messaging queues like RabbitMQ and Kafka? In the background, the consumers, the receivers of this messaging queues will receive that message, that data, and it will process the data in offline in the background. So we need to use API calls. So who will write or who will invoke these API calls or write these API calls? As a DevOps engineer, do we need to worry all these things? Who is going to write APIs? Who is going to make API calls? Whether it's asynchronous call or synchronous call, that will be taken care by developer, development team. But there should be a network call, which means can I have, if required, can I have this login related microservice in separate system? Can I deploy if required? Can I have this user interface in a separate system if required? Now, end users is accessing UI. End users is accessing UI. For end users, does it matter whether you are using microservice, monolithic, whether you are using Java, .NET, Python? For end users, no. But as an application team, if you are following microservice architecture, the developer of this UI, suppose this is login service. In the login button, the moment he click on login button, does this guy need to make a API call to the login wherever it is running? Maybe this is running in some server like this. This is running in some server, maybe something like this. It is running in some server 172.31.49.80, and it is running on 8080 port, let's say, and the API, something like is the API. So this API, REST APIs, REST APIs, you have a get calls, you have a post calls. So if the developer has developed this API, post call, do we expect, does this API will expect some input in the form of JSON? We call that as a request body. We call that as a request body. So does this will be expected like this? Login, I mean to say username. What is the username user is typing? And what is the password the user is typing? So can I make a request body in the presentation layer? The UI developer, will he create a request body with whatever details he is filling? Then can he make a call to this API, login API, which is running in some server? Does this API will read this username and password? Will it receive this data from the presentation layer? Then it will use this with a data layer. It will authenticate whether this user and this password is correct or not. Will it respond back saying that success if it is a valid user, saying 200 success? If it is not a valid user, will it return some message, maybe saying that 401 status code, saying invalid username, invalid password, like this? So this is how APIs will be developed. But if I only run UI, let's say this login API is not working. Again, as a whole application, will your application will work? Your UI is running, but your login microservice is not running. As a whole application, does your application will work? UI is running, but your login microservice is not running. So in that case, does users will be able to log into the system? Even though you are developing as a multiple services, but at the end of the day, does all these microservices should be up and running somewhere? Yes. So does each microservice will communicate with other microservice? As I already told, it's a API calls, network calls. So who will write those APIs and who will make the calls to those APIs? As a developer. As a developers, they will write all these things. The advantages we already discussed. Now let's say there is a change in the registration. Without bringing down this other applications, other microservices, can I bring only this registration down? There is a change in the registration microservice. Without stopping these microservices, the servers or the containers, I am not stopping this one. Can I stop only this application and redeploy only registration application? And also there is a new changes in my UI. There is a new changes in my UI, my presentation. Without impacting these APIs, without bringing down actual microservices APIs, can I only stop and redeploy this UI, the presentation layer code? So we will not bring the entire application down. These are the advantages. The way it is giving advantages, there are a lot of challenges also comes with microservices. Lot of challenges or drawbacks. I will not say as a drawback, I can say it as a challenge. The more features, the more advantages it is giving. Similarly, there are a lot of challenges also comes with microservices. What are the challenges? Any guess, any idea? Guys, you may ask, sir, this is nothing to do with the DevOps or Docker. Why you are covering this much extent? All the projects nowadays, everyone is following microservice architecture. In the interviews also, they are asking what is monolithic, what is microservice. As I already told multiple times, even though you are not a developer, do you need to understand your code, your application code and architecture very well to support operations for that applications? Even though you are not a developer, as a DevOps engineer also, do you need to understand the application and its architecture, your application very well? Not in detail. You don't need to know what is API, how to write API, what is messaging queue, how to send the messages to the queue, how to subscribe the messages from queue. You don't need that much extent. But do you need to know overview at high level? What is application? Application is having how many services, how many microservices, what databases are used, what messaging queues are used in that application. Do you need to understand at high level? Yes. The more you understand the application and its architecture, will it be easy for you to do the operations, that CI/CD for that application, automation for that application? Yes. So that's why we are discussing all these things. Now, what are the challenges or drawbacks with microservices? Communication between services is a complex communication between services, which means since everything is now independent, I can deploy independently, but do I need to carefully handle the request traveling between your modules or microservices? Do I need to carefully handle the request, how request is being traveled, from which microservice to which microservice request is going? Do I need to carefully handle the request between your microservices using REST APIs? Yes. Integration testing is difficult. Integration testing is difficult. What does it mean? Testing a microservice based application can be difficult. Why it is difficult? If I want to test microservice application, integration testing is different, unit testing is different. What is the meaning of unit testing? Only testing that piece, only that API. If I test, that is unit testing. Integration testing in the sense integration. All these services are integrated end to end. Is my application is working fine or not? I want to do the integration testing. So testing microservice based application is difficult because if it is a monolithic, if I just deploy that package, that single package, whatever I created for monolithic, if I deploy that package, which means does all the features, all the functionalities will be up and running if I deploy single package? Yes. So if it is a monolithic, we just need to launch our application in some application server and ensure that that application server is able to talk to the underlying database. That application server has a connectivity with underlying database. That's it. But with microservices, does each dependent microservice needs to be deployed before integration testing occurs? Which means I want to do the integration testing. Suppose I don't deploy some microservice. Let's say that registration related microservice I have not deployed. But in the UI, people are making the calls, but this is not running. In that case, does that registration related functionality will work? Does users can register to the system? No. So before we do integration testing, do I need to make sure all these microservices are deployed? Yes. Now advantage is also there. What is the advantage? Let's say I am making changes to the registration API. I am making changes to the registration API. I am bringing down this registration API down, but still, does the end users can continue to use the existing system? Does end users will continue to log in? Existing users will continue to log in? Will they able to browse the products, make the payments, even though I am making changes in the registration? Yes. Only registration users will be impacted. But at the end of the day, do I need to have all these microservices deployed somewhere that can be directly in the server, that can be in some containers? Yes. So integration testing is difficult. And deployment challenges. Deployment challenges. The very big problem, deployment challenges. So since it's a huge code, different multiple code bases, the application may need to coordinate with multiple services, which may not straightforward as deploying a var. So deployment challenges. What is the deployment challenges? Let's consider this now. Let's consider this now. Now I am following microservice architecture. If it is a monolithic, does deployment will be simple? So I have some application servers. I have some application servers like this. This is one app server. This is another app server. For high availability and load balancing, I have multiple app servers. Can I deploy this package in this app server by installing required softwares like Java, directly virtualized deployment? Virtualized deployment. I will install and configure required softwares with the dependencies, whatever. Then I will deploy this application. So then I will deploy this application. If it is a monolithic, if I do like this, does my application will be up and running in some server? The whole application, because it's a single package. Now I just need to make sure there is a database in the background. There is a DB server in the background. Do I need to make sure this application server has a network connectivity with this database to read and write the data? Typical three-tier architecture. Now I will expose this application to the end user via load balancer. Can I bring some load balancer in front of my application servers? Does end users can access my application via load balancer? Like this. If you want to do the CI/CD, can I bring automation here? Can I bring Jenkins here? Any CI/CD tool like Jenkins, Azure DevOps, or Circle CI. So whenever there is a change in the code, can I have that pipeline created? That pipeline will create this package. That pipeline will replace this package in these application servers if required. Continuous integration, continuous delivery, or deployment. If required, I can do that here. Now, if it is a microservice architecture, is the deployment is simple, as straightforward as what we are doing in monolithic? Now understand our operation complexity. Operations team complexity, understand the operations team complexity now with microservice architecture. Now you need to focus here more because this is our job. Do I need to deploy these microservices as a DevOps engineer manually or automated way using pipelines? As a DevOps engineer, is it our responsibility to create a pipelines or automation scripts to deploy these microservices? Yes. So far we discussed the developer side. So far we discussed the developer side, what is microservice, why microservice, all these things. Now I have a microservice architecture, same application but microservice. Now can I have a separate code base for each microservice like this? Registration separate code base, registration separate code base, checkout separate code base, product separate code base. I will have a separate code base for this one. Guys, if you understand today's class, you can understand DevOps concepts 100%, how it works in the applications. Whatever I am covering today, if you understand this one, you can easily understand what is DevOps, why DevOps, how it will work, and all those things. Now, this is separate code base. This is separate code base. This is separate code base. If it is a microservice, can have a code base like this. Each feature, each module as a separate code base. Now, as a DevOps engineer, are you responsible for creating and managing permissions to these repositories to the developers? As a DevOps engineer, are you responsible for owning and managing this SEM, creating a branches for these repositories, SEM repositories? You have these repositories. Does developer will commit the code to these repositories? The guys who is working on registration, let's say 4-5 guys are working on registration based APIs. Can they clone this registration based GitHub and they will commit to this code? Similarly, the guys who is working on login, they will commit the code to this one. The guys who are working on this registration, they will commit the code to that registration related APIs. So now each code base, will it have its own APIs? Discrete tasks, specific task only we are going to perform. Now here, do I have a source code for this one? If it is developed using Java, do I have a source code? Do I have a pom.xml for this? Suppose if this is developed using Node.js or Java, let's say this is also developed using Java, do I have something like this source code and pom.xml for that? Suppose this is developed using Node.js, will I have my Node.js scripts, Node.js APIs and Node.js dependencies like package.json file, that npm files, all those things if required? Now, this time, do I need to deploy these many packages? Do I need to build a package for this first? If it is a Java based application, do I need to build a package for this application, this microservice? Like a small application, registration.jar or jar or var. So does this package will have complete applications code or only registration related APIs functionalities? Only registration. Like this, I have created as packages. Like this, I have created a packages. Like this, I created a packages. Maybe registration, checkout, login, payment, like this. I have a packages. If it is a Java, if it is a Node.js or Python, different packages. Something like this I have created. Now, do I need to deploy all these packages to run my application as a whole? To run my application as a whole, do I need to deploy all these packages in your deployment server, your app servers? Now, forget about containers. Forget about containers for some time. Can I deploy these microservices in the virtual machines or physical machines? I mean to say, can I use traditional deployment approach or virtualized deployment approach also if required to deploy these packages? Yes. Now, if you follow traditional deployment or virtualized deployment, what is the problem? Can you guys tell me what is the problem if I use virtualized deployment model to deploy these microservices? What is the problem? What are the challenges you have if you are using virtualized deployment? Do I need more virtual machines? Do I need more servers, more virtual machines, more virtual machines? I mean to say servers. Just to give an example, same application you developed in monolithic, you deployed as 3 replicas. So how many servers you need? Same application you developed in monolithic, you deployed as 3 replicas. How many servers I need? 3. Suppose if you want to scale, can I create a one more server and scale that application? But here, will you end up scaling entire application? Even though there is, you want to scale only login, will you end up scaling entire application here? Yes. But now let's consider I want to deploy this application which is developed using microservices. Let's consider how many microservices I have. How many microservices I have for this application now? Just rough number, guys. I'm just using 6, but this can be 10 or 20 also. This can be 20 microservices or 30 microservices also, based on lot of other features, other modules. At high level, I am explaining with these many microservices. So if I want to deploy 7 microservices and each 3 replicas, if I follow virtualized deployment or traditional deployment, how many servers I need? 7 microservices, each microservice 3 replicas. 21 I need. But you may have a question, sir, why can't I deploy multiple microservices in a same server directly? Why can't I install, deploy registration and login also in the same virtual machine? What is the problem here? Suppose I am directly doing a virtualized deployment. Now, let's consider this is requires Java 8. This requires Java 7. Is that possible now? If I directly do in this virtual machine? No. Both are using Java 8 only, but still, why we should not develop, deploy like this? Now, is both are sharing same process area in a virtual machine, same user area, process area, network area? Suppose this application is causing some issue in JVM. This application is causing some issue in JVM, JDK, that JVM process. Does this application also will get impacted because it is using same process area? So that is one problem. One more thing here. Do I need to do this one first before deploying my application? Do I need to do this one first in my virtual machines? If I want to do the virtualized deployment, do I need to do this one first? Now, if this is the case, do I have a more servers to configure and install required softwares and libraries? But you can bring automation over there also. Can I use kind of a Ansible configuration management software? Instead of doing manually, I can bring Ansible there to install and do this configuration. But again, even though you bring Ansible to do the install and configuration, you are deploying this application. You cannot deploy one more application. But do you really need complete server to run this small microservice, this small code base? It is not very huge code. Do you really need this complete virtual machine to run this microservice? Do you need a complete virtual machine resources to run this microservice? No. Microservice, very small. What is the meaning of micro? What is the meaning of micro? small. Suppose I have a server, I have a virtual machine with 32 GB and a 16 core processor, just to give an example. Does this microservice requires this much resources to run this application? No. It hardly, if it is a microservice, hardly it will take maybe 2 GB to 4 GB. 2 GB to 4 GB. Hardly this application requires 2 GB to 4 GB of memory, maybe one core CPU or up to two core CPU. It may not need more than this much. Now, do you need this much resources to run this much microservice? No. But as I already told, can I deploy one more microservice application in the same server if I want to reuse these resources? No, because isolation problem. If you are directly doing in a virtualized deployment, does this and this will share same process area, storage area, network area, and if this is impacting your JVM, does this application also get impacted? So I don't want to do this. So to overcome these operational challenges, can you think of something new called containers? Can you think of something new called containers? So can I deploy these microservices as a containers instead of following virtualized deployment? Now, instead of directly doing like this, can I create a Docker image, container image for each application, for each microservice now? Now, instead of directly doing like this, can I bring Docker? Can I create a Docker image out of this application with required softwares? Now let's consider this is my Docker image. Each microservice, one Docker image. Each microservice is a separate code base. Does each microservice will end up creating a separate application package? For this application package, can I create a separate Docker image? Each microservice, will it end up with one Docker image? Does each microservice will end up with one Docker image if I want to deploy it as a container? If I want to run my microservice as a container, does each microservice will have one image? Yes. So for this application, can I create a Docker file? As a developer, if he is very good in Docker, he can create a Docker file for this application. Using the Docker file, he can create a Docker image. If developer is not good in Docker, as a DevOps engineer, is it your responsibility to Dockerize, support this Dockerizing this microservice? Now, suppose based on the programmatic language that application is used, based on the programmatic language that microservices is developed, can I use respective base images? If it is developed using Node.js, I will use Node as a base. If it is developed using Java, Java as a base. Can I write a Docker file as per that microservice requirement to create these packages? Now, can I have this like this? In the image itself, can I have something like this with required softwares and configurations plus my application code? With required softwares and configurations plus my application code. So here, can I have required softwares plus configurations plus environment, then my application code. On top of that, my application code. So can I create a Docker image like this for each microservice now? Now, each microservice, separate Docker package like this. You are going to have a separate Docker packages with required softwares and libraries. Now, if it is a container, now same virtual machine using Docker on top of this virtual machine using Docker, can I run this image as a container? Now, if it is a container, can I run login registration or any other microservice also as a container, and each container is isolated from other now using Docker. Can I create a login container in the same machine if required? Can I do the registration container also can be created in same machine if required? Can I have UI container also running in the same machine like this? Now, will I eliminate this operation complexities? Operational complexities like configuring the required softwares and managing those many machines. Can I eliminate if I use containers here for running the microservice? Now, will I able to avoid lot of operational charges, lot of virtual machines if I use containers to run these microservices? Yes. And also, do I need to do this configuration in each and every server where I want to deploy this application as a container? Not required. So do I need to do any kind of a configuration management as a overhead again? Except a Docker, do I need to have any other software to run my application as a container? Not required. So this way, will I able to run my applications independently? Will I able to run my applications independently? People are saying I am not audible. Is it for everyone? Am I audible? Not audible? I mean to say audible, right? I am audible, right? Okay. Maybe someone has issue. Maybe they can rejoin. Now, if it is a microservice now, can I run my microservice as containers? Now, whenever there is a change in the registration, without impacting other containers, other applications, even though they are running in a same server, can I redeploy this registration related container, registration related code, even though they all are running in a same server? I can do this. Coming to the scaling part, let's say there is a lot of load on login. Instead of running that login container as one replica, instead of running that login Docker image as one replica, one container, can I have 4 or 5 login containers? Can I scale only login? Can I scale only registration if required? The containers, instead of one replica, can I run those as multiple replicas? And if I don't want to do all these things manually, can I create a pipeline for each microservice? I don't want to manually build this. I don't want to manually build this. I don't want to manually deploy this in your deployment servers. Can I write a pipeline for each microservice? Which means the way we have a Jenkins file, the way we have a Docker file, can I write a Jenkins file for each microservice? I'll write a Jenkins file for this microservice. Similarly, can I write the Jenkins file for this microservice? So if I have this Jenkins file, and if I have created a pipeline, Jenkins job for each microservice, one job. Let's say you have 100 microservices, just to give an example. You have 100 microservices. How many pipelines you will create in Jenkins? You have 100 microservices. How many pipelines will be created in your Jenkins? How many jobs? Pipeline or job? You have 100 microservices, and each microservice is a separate code base. So how many Git repositories? Let's say you have 100 microservices. How many Git repositories? 100 Git repos. For each repo, do you have a pipeline? Jenkins pipeline? Now, whenever there is a change in the registration, is that pipeline will be triggered by Jenkins? If you have a poll SEM or webhook configured that one, does your Jenkins will trigger a build and deployment? So as a DevOps engineer, do you take care about this operations part? Developer will focus on writing the code. As an operations team, do you take care about creating a required infrastructure, like a servers, networks, storage for your applications and databases? Are you responsible for same creating a pipelines also, automation, continuous integration, continuous deployment for these microservices? Responsible for creating a Docker files, Jenkins files, managing your microservices deployments, all those things. Now, if I have a pipeline like this, each Jenkins repo, one pipeline. So if I have a Jenkins, I will have 100 pipelines. Whenever there is any change in that respective microservice, is it going to build only that microservice package? Is it going to create only that microservice Docker image? Is it going to delete that old container, and can I create a new container with that new code? So this way, will I able to overcome the challenges, overcome the drawbacks or challenges comes with microservice architecture using the tools like CI/CD tools like Jenkins, DevOps methodology? Can I overcome these challenges? Now, are you guys clear why DevOps is evaluating like anything, and also why Docker is evaluating like anything now? At least by today, you should understand why DevOps, why Docker is more demand in the market, why container orchestrations are huge demand in the market. So containers is the best place or location to run your microservices, or in other words, I will say microservices will works very well with containers. But is it mandatory? As I already told, if you are using microservice, does it mean your microservice has to be run it as a container always? No. But does container works very well with microservices? It will go hand to hand. Containers and microservices will go hand to hand. They will work very well with each other. Like a Ram Charan and Junior NTR in the Triple R movie, right? Both work very well with each other, right? So similarly, these containers and microservice works very well with each other. They will go hand to hand, which means the more if you are using microservices for your application, what is the best location or best way to run your microservice? 99.99% you are going to use which deployment approach? Virtualized deployment or containerized deployment? Containerized deployment. The more microservices you have, do you have a more operational tasks also? The more microservices you have, do you have more operational tasks also, like creating a servers, installing softwares, deploying those applications? So can I bring automation there? Automation, tasks automation using tools like Jenkins, Azure DevOps, Travel CI, Circle CI, Bamboo, GitLab, any tools, continuous integration and continuous deployment. So this is how we can develop microservices. Developers are developing microservices. As an operations team, are we managing operational side of these microservices? Means creating a required infrastructure, network, storage, installing required softwares, deploying these applications, and automating the deployments also, continuously integrate. Whenever there is a change in the code, developer commit the code. If I have a pipeline created for that microservice, does that code will be integrated, unit tested, created a package, and created a container? You guys already done using Jenkins. I hope you guys already done that assignment. I have given one assignment also. Create and deploy your application as a container. If you know, if you go to the actual project, instead of one pipeline, do you have hundreds of pipelines, thousands of pipelines based on how big your application is there? Suppose your application is very big. Do you have 100 microservices? I mean to say 100 to 200 microservices also. Same process, but very high in value, very high in value, which means suppose my application is having just 10 microservices. You will have very less resources. I mean to say less servers, less pipelines. less deployments. But if I have a 200 microservices for one application, do I have a very high in numbers? I mean to say I will have more servers also, more pipelines also to deploy all those things. So if you understand the concept, whether you are working on sample application, whether you are working on actual application, in your terminology, real-time application, does these concepts will change? No. Only the size, the volumes in the sense, the number of pipelines, the number of microservices, the number of servers, the capacity of your servers will be more, not your concept. Is everyone clear how to overcome these deployment challenges now? Now, debugging also harder. Debugging also little difficult when we are using microservice architecture. Why? Earlier, monolithic. Whether I am logging, registration, doing the payments, orders, checkout, whatever I do, does all the logs will be part of this single log file? Maybe you will have one application logs. You will have one application logs file. So I may have those logs either in this server application logs file, or this server application logs file, or this server application logs file. Now, in microservice architecture, the flow you don't know. End users are accessing UI. UI is making a call to different microservice. UI is making a call to this microservice might be making a call to another microservice. Now I don't know where exactly the request is getting failed, whether request is getting failed in this microservice or this microservice, where exactly it is failing. Now if it is a microservice based architecture, you are distributing your microservices to multiple servers, multiple containers. Is it easy for you to check the logs of each server, each container, where exactly it is failed? If you have hundreds of microservices, will it be easy? Do you think it will help like this? Docker logs of login container, I will see. If it is not here, I will see Docker logs of other container. Will it be easy for you to trace the errors in microservice architecture? Do you think it will be simple if you have hundreds of microservices? It is very difficult. So how can we overcome these type of challenges? There are tools available for that also. Log aggregation and log monitoring. So have you guys heard about tools like Splunk, ELK, or EFK? Did you guys heard about this Splunk, ELK or EFK? So what is this Splunk software or ELK software? These are the log aggregation and log monitoring. So when it comes to Splunk, it is enterprise software. It is not free. Enterprise software, it is not free. So I have a lot of servers like this, and my containers are distributed like this. Lot of servers are there, and my containers are distributed. Is it easy for me to check the logs in each and every Docker server, each and every container where it is having errors like this? No. So instead of doing like this, can I use this log agents, log monitoring concept, log aggregation concept? Can I run some log agent here in this machine? Can I run some log agent if it is a Splunk? Can I run one Splunk agent software in this machine? Can I run one Splunk agent software in this machine wherever I have my containers, wherever I deployed my applications? I can have this Splunk agent if I am using Splunk. And that Splunk also will have a UI. That Splunk also has a UI, some central server. Does all the agents which is running in that, does all the containers, whatever containers we have here, whatever logs is generated by this container, can we use this Splunk agent to gather all the logs of these containers from this server, send it to a central server, central location? These agents will gather all the logs from these applications, these containers, whatever is generated in these machines. it will send to one central server. These agents will gather the logs and send it to this central server. I will have a UI also. I will have a UI also there. As a developer, can I access the Splunk UI? Can I search the logs from the Splunk UI? These agents will send the logs to one central location, kind of a central database, let's say, kind of a central database, kind of a central server or database. This agent will send all the logs to this central server. This Splunk UI will talk to the database. As a developer, can I access the Splunk UI and see the logs? Can I search logs, whatever pattern I want to search? Suppose I want to search with a pattern called exception or error. Can I see all the logs in that central location? Will I able to see in which microservice it is failed, where exactly it is failed? Can I trace the errors using this log aggregation and log monitoring softwares? The way we have a Splunk, we have a ELK or EFK. E stands for Elastic Search. This L stands for Logstash. This L stands for Logstash. K stands for Kibana. K stands for Kibana. If it is a EFK, instead of Logstash as an agent, you can use FluentD or FileBeat as an agent, Kibana. So this Logstash or FluentD or FileBeats are agents. If you are using ELK or EFK, can I run that Logstash agent or FileBeat agent in each and every server where my containers are created? I can run that FileBeat agent. Is that FileBeat agent is going to gather the logs from these servers and will it send it to the Elasticsearch? It will send to Elasticsearch. So these agents will gather the logs and it will send to Elasticsearch. This is Kibana. Does Kibana can contact Elasticsearch for indexing and searching the logs? So Kibana is a UI. Kibana is a UI. Using Kibana, can I search my application logs? Can I trace where exactly it is failed, application errors and tracing? Guys, if you are already in IT, you might be already using these softwares, but without knowing why we are using, you might be already using these tools. Anyone used already these tools like Splunk or Kibana, this Elasticsearch, FileBeat, Kibana? So why we are going to use that Splunk and Kibana like this? Can I aggregate my logs? Can I monitor my logs at a central location? If I have a distributed environment, I have a lot of servers where my applications are distributed. Instead of going to each and every server, each and every container to check the logs, can I use these log monitoring log agents to aggregate and searching the logs, kind of a Splunk or ELK? So nowadays, are you using these type of tools also in the DevOps? If you see any JD, they're asking what is Elasticsearch, what is FileBeat, did you used or did you aware about Elasticsearch, FileBeat, Kibana, did you used any tool like this? Also they are going to ask. So the microservices is bringing advantages. At the same time, is it bringing complexities also? To overcome these complexities, are we using some tools for CI/CD like Jenkins, Azure DevOps, for log monitoring, log aggregation, Kibana, Elasticsearch, FileBeat, or Splunk? For application monitoring, you want to monitor all your applications, your servers and your containers. Can I use some application monitoring tools, infrastructure monitoring tools like Prometheus or Nagios, New Relic? If I want to monitor my infrastructure, whether the servers are healthy, whether servers have enough memory, enough CPU, can I use those type of tools also to monitor my infrastructure or application? Yes. So if you understand whatever concept I have explained, you should be able to understand what is DevOps, why DevOps, what is CI/CD, what is continuous monitoring, what is log monitoring, what is application monitoring, why we need to do all these things, you can easily understand. Is everyone clear what is microservice and what is monolithic? It is nothing to do with the Docker. It is nothing to do with the Docker networks. It is nothing to do with Kubernetes or anything. This is one developmental architecture. But as I already told, if I am using microservices, what is the best way to run these microservices is containers. So microservices and containers go hand to hand. Is microservices containers both are same? In the interview, there lot of confusions will come. Is microservices and containers both are same? Is it equals? No, it is not equal. But does these microservices and containers works very well with each other? They will go hand to hand. So that is how it works. So that's it for today, guys. I'll continue tomorrow with the Docker networks. Today it is not a Docker concept, but it is more than that. If you understand this diagram, you can understand the 90% of DevOps in any project. Okay, guys, that's it for today. I'll continue tomorrow. Log monitoring, I am not covering, but there is a detailed video on our YouTube channel already. I am not covering that log monitoring, but there is a detailed video in our YouTube channel, right? Did you guys anytime went through this video? Elasticsearch FileBeat Kibana. Where is that? Elasticsearch FileBeat Kibana. Here. So here I have explained what is Elasticsearch, what is Kibana, what is FileBeat, what is log aggregation, log monitoring. If I want to deploy this Elasticsearch in Kubernetes, suppose I am using Kubernetes to deploy my containers. Kubernetes I am using to manage my containers. How can I deploy this Elasticsearch in my Kubernetes cluster? In detail I have explained. I'll recommend you to go through this video. Not now, maybe while discussing Kubernetes. Thank you, guys. That's it for today. I'll continue tomorrow. But again, I recommend you to go through today's video one more time. Today's video one more time I want you to go through, because you might be thinking what is microservice, what is monolithic. You may still have some confusions. If you go through this video, you can understand in detail. Venkat is asking, is Docker network is the last topic? Is the Docker network is the last topic, guys? Yesterday also I told. Guys, be consistent in the classes. One class is related to other. If you are not consistent in the classes, you have these type of problems only. So Docker networks is the not last concept. After Docker networks, we have Docker volumes. After volumes, we have a Docker compose. After Docker compose, Docker swarm. After Docker swarm, I am going to start Kubernetes. That's why I am saying not only for Venkat, it is for everyone. You have to attend all the classes. Now in the interview, if they ask microservice and monolithic, at least will you able to explain at least 5 minutes what is monolithic, what is microservice, why microservice, what is. Even though I have explained 1.5 hours, you can hardly explain 5 minutes also. But if you don't be regular, if you are not regular, that is where you have a problems understanding what is DevOps, why DevOps, what is CI, what is CD, what is infrastructure, what is container. You have these types of problems. Okay, be consistent in the classes. At the same time, go through the recording multiple times and do the assignments and practice. Thank you, guys. That's it for today. I'll continue tomorrow. And Jagan, whatever issue you and your friend is facing, try to post that issue in the Skype group. What you are doing, what message you are getting, what is your Docker file, post that details in the Skype group. I'll try to look into it whenever I have some time. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow.